Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and welcome to my special report on what I'm calling is this monster moon, this monster blue supermoon on August 19th, 2024. But we will be feeling this even a week before and after. This is maybe even more. This is a very, very powerful moon, and aspects that are weaving into the storyline for this time are many, and they are discordant. And one of the aspects is a clash of outer planet titans, Jupiter and Saturn, which has been in effect since the end of July and will go into the middle of September. So we've got different layers of stories here that are weaving together to form this this monster moon. Two admin pieces really quick. This is for all signs, so everything we're going to talk about here are potentials for everybody. The second thing is that there's just a very short amount of time left in my double blue moon promo. So you can go to beastropro.com, beastropro.com, to see how you can get $1,100 worth of free courses when you register just for one. Find that info again in the notes underneath the video or podcast, or in the top right click information box on the YouTube channel. Okay, so let's go into the many layers of this moon. I always like to explain things in layers because that's just how it is. You know, life is layers, astrology is layers. So let's talk first about the most simplistic layers, and then we'll build up to these bigger storylines. We've got a blue moon, August 19th, 2024. This is at 27 degrees of Aquarius. If you've been watching my reports and you're familiar with my work, then you know two things. First of all, you know that I've already talked about the fact that we had a blue moon in July. So why are we having another blue moon now when they're so rare? Quick answer to that is that there are different definitions of what makes a blue moon, and the blue moon that we had in July was the second full moon in the sign of Capricorn. So the second full moon in a sign or in a calendar month is one definition of a blue moon. An astronomical definition of a blue moon, also, which has been around for a while through the Farmer's Almanac, is a seasonal blue moon, which is the third blue moon in a series of four full moon, or the third full moon in a series of four full moons that occur between summer solstice and fall equinox. So this moon here, August 19th, is a seasonal full moon, but it is a rare season that we do have two full moons back to back that are blue moons. And this is a supermoon. So the supermoons mean that the moon will look bigger in the sky because it is closer to us, and yes, its gravitational effects will be more, and that will add to this monster nature of what's going on here. The second thing that you will know, if you've listened to my work, you know that I'm an optimist. I'm a Sagittarius with a ton of Sag, but I do have quite a bit of Capricorn. So while I always will try to frame things in a way that we can make positive, that we can make lemonade, and I will do that with this moon, if there's something dicey or something stressful or something that's a big deal, I'm absolutely going to let you know about that. My Capricorn side won't let you be unprepared. So if I'm telling you that, this has a lot of negative potentials, it's not because I'm negative by nature or because I'm trying to cause drama. It's because, you need to know. Okay, so let's talk about timing. Now, in general, we tend to feel blue moons or full moons strongly within 2 to 3 days before and after the full moon. When we have a supermoon, we can tend to stretch that out 4 to 5 days before and after. It's a blue moon, it's more rare. Stretch it out, say, a week before and after. So from August 12th through August 26th is a really solid time of how this moon part may manifest. But one of the aspects we're going to talk about, which is this behemoth Jupiter square Saturn, is much more rare and is in effect for longer. So I'll go through those timelines in more detail as we talk about the different layers. So expect fullness, completion, fruition, drama to come in general. Expect elucidation, things coming from the darkness into the light, things under cover being discovered, things that were hidden being seen, for better and worse. All of these things are not just bad potentials. You could be searching for a mystery, illness, or a problem of some kind, and you could get insights that could be helpful for you. This is an air moon, so sometimes we can say these would be more objective and less emotional, but this is a late degree air moon, 27 degrees of Aquarius. That's just 3 degrees away from Pisces, which is a water sign. So all full moons, especially supermoons, especially near a water sign, as this is, can definitely increase the chance of bringing water where it's not supposed to be. So those of you like me who are in storm zones, we just had another storm here recently that really messed things up. Be on guard, don't take any chances, be prepared and be proactive. If you've been meaning to get a water issue checked out in pipes or something like that, it would be good to be proactive with this. So I will post this early so that you have a chance to do that. Full moons are a time where we shake off all the emotional congestion that's built up in our field for the last moon cycle, 27, 28 days. And so you will feel that too. This will be a grand shaking off. Now, sometimes the drama can be positive drama, like you push through a problem and get to the awesome result. Sometimes the fruition can be something you've been waiting for a long time, and the rareness of this blue moon, the once in a blue moon saying, can bring you something you've been working on. Since we're also in Mercury retrograde at this time, there is going to be a strong tilt to the past and maybe some extra confusion about how whatever is happening may manifest, or having clear information about what's going on. So definitely expect some confusion. For those people who have votes around this time, I know we do, look for some confusion in the voting situation or things like that, because this can definitely bring drama and confusion, extra drama and confusion. All right, so let's look at the chart. I'm going to show you first the lesser layers of what's happening, and then we'll build up to this bigger deal. The moon itself, a rare blue moon, a supermoon, all of that is enough on its own. But we also have Venus squared Jupiter. And so all the things we're going to talk about are either squares or oppositions. These are the more challenging aspects in astrology, which is why I called this moon the monster moon. These aspects that are happening now are not the sweet, yummy, yay ones. These are the challenged ones. So, this is going to unearth a lot of stuff. If you can hide under a rock, do that. If you can't, be super careful, because people are going to be stressed. They'll be driving emotionally. They'll be reacting emotionally. Maybe not the best time to suggest something to someone who might be dangerous, or, add fire to a situation that's already escalated. People can become shockingly violent or dramatic out of nowhere. We do know that, full moons, have an increase in criminal activity and arrests and hospital entries and, medical events. So all of that will be happening as well. Now we add to this Venus and Jupiter, and honestly, this is one of the best of the bunch, because Venus and Jupiter are two benefics. They're kind of tend to be more positive in their manifestation. So when we have a square here, what it tends to talk about is overdoing. Overspending, overeating, if you do indulge in dangerous things, overdoing that. And having repercussions from that could be longer lasting than expected or hoped for. So if you are prone to addictions or addictive behaviors, if you can do yourself a favor and just put things on pause, if you can't get out of it completely for this time, this is a time you don't want to be driving things to excess. Because it's just a nasty, nasty sequence here. And just on a lighter level, for people who aren't dealing with those issues, just be careful to not overdo. You could get sick, as you hear I have gotten, which has been a long time since I've gotten cold. But, you can overdo, like I said, spending, because it's Venus. You can overdo indulging in foods that could, that make you susceptible to colds, things like that. So that's the biggest concern here. Overcommitting. You could be excited about something and then overcommit, especially in the retrograde. We don't want to do that, because circumstances that you agreed to or thought you could manage are going to rapidly change here, and we are stepping into eclipse season, which is another energetic that is happening. You can hear about all of that in my August reports, so I'm not going to go into it, but it is a layer of what's happening now. Okay, and then we have Uranus and the Sun, and really Mercury. Oh, and Vesta too. All in a square here. So this is pretty intense. We've got Vesta, which rules home and family, your sacred flame, your passions, the sun, which is what makes you shine. Mercury is communication, information, taking in and putting out information. All of these are conjunct, which can be really positive. This could be super creative, actually, and super productive on the home front, or you could feel really enlivened with discoveries and excitement, vibrance. But now with this square with Uranus, this can bring jolts. Unpleasant jolts, unwelcome news, zaps to your energy, erratic people bringing you down, accidents, things like that, other shocking behavior. On the plus side, squares can shake us out of a matrix that we've been stuck in. So if you've been in a creative funk, this Uranus energy could jolt you right out of it. It could cause you to be creative and put other things aside that you're supposed to be doing, like neglecting duties, and maybe you're the one acting erratic because you're so inspired and so excited by these Leo energies that you kind of don't show up, or you become unreliable or undependable. That, Uranus force can just be anything out of the blue. And in a square, it tends to be kind of unpleasant, or if it is pleasant, it's kind of jostling. It upsets the apple cart. There's a show that I watched. It's a cartoon, and this guy had these melons or squashes or something on this cart, and it would periodically come through the episodes that ruckuses would happen, and this poor guy would have his cart upset, and literally, all of these melons or whatever they were would be all over the place. And it kind of reminds me of that, when you've got everything nice and neat and organized, and then in comes something that really messes with that. And that could be, it could turn out to be a good thing. It could turn out to be an interesting thing, at bare minimum, but it can definitely upset a rhythm or upset a status quo. Okay, then we have Venus opposing Saturn. All right, so we were talking about Venus here. It's also going to be opposing Saturn here. Saturn is going to feature in our big behemoth that we're building up to also, but this is a lesser layer because a fast-moving planet like Venus will pass through the aspect with the outer planet, in days, a week, or so. This particular aspect may be strong for that time, whereas when we bring in Jupiter, the outer planet, these outer planets get locked into a configuration for a long period of time, so their influence is much longer in the time it's happening and in its influence. So for this short time, we'll just give it a week before and after, just like we did the blue moon, but it's going to be more like 4 days before the 19th, and so the 15th through the 23rd, especially closer to the 19th you get. Saturn, the taskmaster, the stern critic, opposing your love, your vibrance, your money. So it could be a time to pay the piper if you were celebrating too much and you overspent. You could have time of reckoning there. It could be something like hardship in a relationship, or something that had been swept under the rug, which Mercury retrograde is notorious for bringing back up. Something could come up there that has some seriousness to it, that has some sternness, that requires some discipline and a plan and some attention. Plus side here is that all these things are coming out. Sometimes we have things going on under the surface, and we feel uneasy, or we know something's happening, but we can't put our finger on what the issues are. This moon is going to blow all of this out of the water. So all of these other transits that are happening are going to be elucidated by this moon. And if there was any confusion or anything that was behind the scenes or anything that was undercover, it's just going to kind of blow it all out. It can be very cathartic in that way, I always think of a dog shaking water off when I think of full moons, and this is especially true now with all of this extra stuff coming to light, shaking it off. And ultimately, if there's harshness that's coming into your world, it may stem, down from a bigger issue from your childhood, of something that happened to you that interfered with your self-esteem that you haven't managed to get quite right yet, that people are now reflecting for you. So that could be elucidated, and you could make progress on that. Okay, so now the big dog here, we've got Jupiter and Saturn. Now the time frame for this, it's been brewing, you know, these type of aspects can be brewing under the surface for a while, even before their biggest time of influence. But certainly from the end of July into the middle of September, this will be very active. And when we're here, you know, it's exact at this blue supermoon. So they've been working on getting in configuration, getting in closer and tighter connection. And now at this blue supermoon, it's happening exactly. So let's talk about the layers of this, because, you know, we know it's in effect for a long time. We know it's coming to a head at this point. We've got multiple factors at play here. So we've got Jupiter as a great expander. So we've got expansion and growth and the pursuit of knowledge, you know, through taking in information and sharing it, teaching, learning, adaptability. Then we have Saturn, which is the tightener, the segmenter of the infinite, as I like to call him, you know, the reality check guy. Jupiter is the big visionary, and Saturn is the, but what about this, but what about this, but what about this, but what about this? And in Pisces, Saturn does not like to be in Pisces. I do have a series of shorts on that you can look for, my Saturn in Pisces shorts. I'm not going to go into a ton of it now, but in general, you know, limitation, structure, discipline is what Saturn is about. But in Pisces, it's you know, it's giving us a focus on the issue of boundaries and illusions, or emotional or spiritual discipline, or lack thereof for people around us, which is influencing us. The colliding of these two energies can bring communication barriers, and we already have, you know, a challenged aspect with Mercury to add to that. And add to it that Gemini, Jupiter's in Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury. So we've got a lot of mercurial energy going on here, plus Mercury's in retrograde. So we've got, you know, communication barriers. So there's like a push for more communication, but then there's like a stalemate with less, you know, so you're trying harder maybe, and the people are withholding more. Or it could be that people are trying to push you into more communication, into giving more information than you feel comfortable giving. So, you know, it could come any which way, but it's this energy of push and pull. The Saturn in Pisces can definitely bring about doubts and insecurity and disillusionment and the need to reevaluate things. It can bring definitely reality checks. It can bring heaviness to your mind and your emotions and your mood. That's all happening. But there's something that seeks to expand while there are these limitations. A really, really great way to work with this is to surrender to the limitation and ask the questions, why could this be good for me? So let's say you're trying to get a visa or an immigration status. Jupiter rules those things. Or you're trying to get into a school program. Jupiter rules those things. And here's Saturn coming, putting the kibosh on it. You didn't get into school. You get into school, but you don't have the money. You know, trying to get the job, but you can't get the visa. Just any combination of these things. Or you're trying to expand your business and something just keeps coming in to stop that. One of the things you can do is ask the question, why might it not be good for me to do this right now? And maybe start to trust the divine timing. It's this kind of a transit that can force either major discomfort or force the spiritual principle, which is there is a plan to things that we don't know about. Very often, retrospectively, we'll see that plan as being wise and benevolent. But in the time of it happening, it sometimes doesn't feel wise or benevolent because we can't see the whole picture. But I do believe there's a benevolent source that can see the whole picture, and these things are in motion. So you're running up against, you know, blocks and obstructions where you're stretching for growth, but you're kind of being pulled right back to where you were. This is definitely about balance. You know, so our basic strategies here are going to be balance, which is striving to balance optimism with realism, you know, staying open to new opportunities while also recognizing the need for discipline, or being wary and not trusting what everybody says or does. You know, this is really, it's ironically, you know, because I just told you that I'm very Saggy and very Capricorn-y. So Jupiter rules Sag and Saturn rules Capricorn. So it really is a standoff between Jupiter and Capricorn. in their beliefs. So I'm going through this very personally, so I can understand it better. So where you knew you needed balance, but you're like, yeah, I'll do that some other time. Now circumstances may happen that you absolutely have to do it. And there's no negotiation anymore. Patience is not a thing that we like to discuss. I remember my dad always telling me, be patient, as an Aries rising. Didn't have that trait when I was born. So, but this is a strategy that can be used at this time and at this moon, that the growth may be slower and more deliberate at this time. There may be reasons why the explosion of growth you're trying to have is not good for you, and reasons why you have to have patience and perseverance. And then reflection. The Saturn in Pisces is really forcing this reflection, this quiet time. Maybe you're laid up because there was an accident and now you can't be mobile, or you can't do your normal work. This is not meant to make you miserable. This is meant to give you the time to reflect and see moving forward what things you may do differently once you're in that forced quiet space. And some manifestations might not be so drastic, hopefully not. But it may be something lesser, like a cold or something else, or, just something that puts you into forced reflection, because that's what is supposed to be happening now. So reflecting on your beliefs and your goals, your boundaries, reevaluation of what really matters to you and how much energy you're putting towards what really matters and how far off track you may be. Definitely look for insomnia throughout this whole time. If you are not able to sleep and you're like, why can't I sleep? This may be why. This is very powerful. If you feel more emotional, more out of control, look for resources that can help you to manage that and get a strategy together, writing things out and ripping them up, writing emails to people and then deleting them, EFT tapping, getting, support through various trauma therapies and things like that can be very supportive for this introspection and reflection. And while, like I mentioned, the many layers of why I'm calling this Monster Moon, these challenges, I believe, are meant to help us break through to something greater within ourselves. So if you can look for that gold and wait for that gold and actively try to cultivate that, then, your attitude and your perspective can definitely shift how you experience some of these things that may come from this time. If you love astrology and resonate with how I teach, you'll want to get $1,100 worth of free classes when you register just for my one class, my astrology certification course. So go to beastropro.com, beastropro.com to see the details. There's just a little bit more time for this double blue moon promo where you get all those goodies for free. And you can see all of my free stuff at anniehelpsyou.com. I've got lots of free resources, my free VIP community with astrology, mini lessons, and all kinds of stuff that you can see there. So take care, take extra cover, be extra attentive at this moon. Let it help you bring out things within yourself that are great. After maybe a little trauma, let it help you find hidden gems within yourself that were buried underneath some muck. And let it help you reveal and release any blockages to your highest expression and your best life. You can check out my August 2024 reports either through my podcast, Annie Botticelli Astro Kisses, or on my YouTube channel, Annie Botticelli. So the September 2024 horoscopes, both podcast and YouTube version, will be live August 22nd. But if this is earlier that you're listening than August 22nd and you want to access them, you can go to anniehelpsyou.com, put your name and email address in there, sign up for my free VIP community, and one of the very many perks of being in my VIP community is that you get early access to my horoscopes. So you'll be able to access that in the archive link. If I posted it already, those should go out around the 14th. I hope that this moon is as gentle as possible, and that if it's not, that you can reframe it and make magic somehow. Bye for now.